Sacred Sites with Steve Ray, here on Morning Joy, where truth matters.
So today, I'm going to take you on a very unique pilgrimage that very few people have ever done. In fact, I'm the only one I know that's ever done it, and that is going out fishing all night on the Sea of Galilee with Peter, Andrew, James, and John. So what happened was, well, let's first of all say that the Bible mentions fish, fishermen, nets, and boats over 100 times. So it's a big deal in the Bible, fishing, and especially in the Gospels, as we all know. And one morning, I got up and ran like I always did in the mornings. And I said, I'm going to go watch the fishermen coming in today. I'm going to see if I can talk to them. I want to find out if there's really big waves in the water and big storms. I want to find all the questions that are in the Bible about the fishing. I want to ask them all that in person. So I get up and I'm running at 5 o'clock. I find a little harbor near Nafginisar. And I see a little bay, and I go there. The sun is just beginning to pink, a little pink on the horizon, and there's about 5 fishing boats coming in. So I yell out, "Do any of you speak English?" And these poor victims, they should have kept their mouths shut. They should not have admitted it. I'll tell you that right now. Udi and Shimi Cohen. And by the way, if you ever hear the last name Cohen, that's the Hebrew word for priest, and they're usually genetically from the tribe of Levi. So if you meet a Cohen today, they're genetically proven to be from the tribe of Levi. Okay, so there's Udi and Shimi, and I start asking them questions. How many fish did you get? What kind of the best ones? Is there really storms on the sea? And I'm asking all these questions. And in their thick Hebrew accent, they said, "You ask too many questions. If you want to know all of those, we have work to do. If you want to know the answers to those questions, be here at 6 o'clock. You fish with us, and I answer all your questions on the boat." Holy smokes, what do you think I'm going to do then? I went back and took a nap, got up, went back there at 5 o'clock and waited for them. We loaded up all of their nets. Back in the old days, they used to be rope. Now they're nylon. And the boats used to be wood. Now they're fiberglass. They're about maybe 10, 13 feet long, 4 or 5 feet wide, only for 2 guys. Well, I was the third wheel in that boat. And before you had to row, now there's the motors, but they still have a big oar to kind of direct the boat. So anyway, I get in that boat with these guys, and I just can't believe that I'm getting to do this. But that's kind of like me. When I'm over there, I'm always looking for things to experience firsthand. I don't want to just see it from a bus. I want to see it firsthand. I want to get my feet dirty, my hands wet. I want to catch fish and smell them. And so I also want these experiences so that I can share them with my pilgrims when I bring them. And so I tell the story every time we take our group out on the big tourist boat, which we're going to talk about next week, by the way. So we start rowing the motors out. I say rowing. The motors we take, and we go up to the northern tip of the sea. And that's right where the Jordan River comes in, called the mouth of the river. And it's right there is Bethsaida, that's called the house of the fishermen. And that's where Peter and Andrew and Philip were born. They lived and learned how to fish there because Bethsaida means house of the fishermen. Well, anyway, so we go up there. But before we go too close, we set the nets. They're half a mile long, and we set them in a big circle with an opening in the middle. And at each end is a kerosene lantern. And that way, they can find the ends of the nets. That's what they have to find in the middle of the night. Once we set the nets, they put down one kerosene, took the boat all the way around a big half a mile circle, and then put the other kerosene lantern. Now we're ready for dinner. This is so cool. So they pull their boat into the mouth of the Jordan River, and they tie the boat to the bushes. And there's another boat over there, and there's 2 fishermen over there, and 2 more over there. And they start yelling back and forth to each other in Hebrew. And I'm saying, what did he say? What did you say? What did they say? I want to know everything. So they're explaining, they're translating for me. Then they pull out their pita bread and their tomatoes and their hummus and all the things that you find in there. And then my wife always makes me tell this story. It's a little bit earthy, but you asked for it. When you asked me to do this show, I'm Steve Ray. I'm not always, I tell earthy stories too. My wife always makes me tell everybody this story on the boat. So I'm there, we're talking, and I said to him, how do you go to the bathroom out here? I mean, what if you need to use the facilities? And he turns around and zip, he goes, like just we do. And then right when he's doing that, the other guy takes the coffee pot and fills it up with water. And I'm saying, nope, I will wait for the next pot of coffee. I'm not drinking that pot of coffee. But this is what these guys are like. They're already covered with sweat. They're already, yelling back and forth. And you don't know it's going to be a 12-hour day and then another 4 hours when they get back to the shore to sort the fish and sell them. So they're talking and eating. We're all eating. And it was just marvelous hearing. I realized I'm out in a boat with Peter, Andrew, James, and John. I just felt like I was back 2,000 years ago. And then they all pick little twigs off the tree and they start picking their teeth. And I'm thinking, this is what Jesus did. Jesus did this every morning. He'd be out with the fishermen and they would pick, they didn't have toothpicks. They would pick a little twig and they'd be picking their teeth to clean the fish bones out and whatever. So then we went back out to boy, time's flying. Okay. We got back out after dinner. Now the sun has set, see, so they can fish now. Up until now, the sun was still up, and there's a reason why. I'll tell you in a minute. They fish at night and not during the day. So we go back out into the opening in the net, and we go in that opening. Now we're in that big circle of net. And it's getting dark. And I said, why do you fish at night? He said, because the Amnon fish, they're very smart. They can see the net. And if you fish in the daytime, they will see the net and they will stay back. But at nighttime, they cannot see the net and they fly and they get stuck in the net. So I said, very smart. He said, but it's a very difficult life for fishermen because it's 18 hours a day from the time you wake up and get started and load your boats and go fishing, come back. You have to sell the fish too. And the Gospels tell how they did that. I hope we have time to get to that part. So then as we go into the net, he gives me a toilet plunger on a big extra stick was taped to it and a hammer. And he says, here, you do this. Push kaplushk into the water with this. And then he says, and then you take the hammer, boom, boom, on the side of the boat. So I said, okay, I'm an obedient. I'm trying to cooperate. So I'm going kerplush, kerplush, bang, bang, kerplush, kerplush, bang. Hey, I said, wait a minute. You guys are having fun with me. I feel like I'm kind of a one-man band out here banging on the boat and kerplushing with a toilet plunger. I said, why am I doing this? He said, because the Amnon fish, they hear the sound and it scares them. And no matter where they are, they swim and they hit the net. No matter where they are in that big half-a-mile semicircle, they swim this way, that way, they get stuck in the net. And sure enough, after about a half an hour of kapoosh, kapoosh, boom, bang, bang on the boat, we start pulling the net in. And there's a fish, the Amnon. The one that you want to catch is called, in Hebrew, Amnon, in Arabic, mush. And in English, we call it tilapia, but it's a special kind of tilapia. It's the kind that just is there. And, in fact, they have these ponds when we're driving. Sometimes we'll see these big ponds, and you could see that they're where they raise the fish. And they said, this is where they raise the fish. And someone says, well, why do they have them there? My guide always says, that's where we teach them to swim. But anyway, as we're catching these fish and pulling them in, they're all flopping on the bottom of the boat. And so I'm up to my knees in fish, and I'm helping them pull them out of the net, and they're flopping, and some are big and some are small. And the Gospels say that at the end of time, the angels will sort the fish into different containers like the fishermen do. And that's what we had to do. We put the Amnon over here, the big ones, and then they sell for more. And then over here, the guys made $500 each the night I went out with them. That was the catch that they made. But the catfish, let me get to that. So we pull in the net, keep going a half a mile, and all of a sudden there's this big catfish. And I live near Detroit. That thing would be worth $100 in Detroit. And the guy takes I said, wow, that's a good one. And he takes it and he takes to the side of the boat and he goes, bam, bam, bam. He holds him by the tail and he smashes that catfish to smithereens. Guts are flying everywhere. Blood's all over the boat. Bam, bam. And I said, why did you do that? He said, pigfish. No pigfish in our sea. And in the book of Leviticus, it says the only kind of food that you can eat that comes from the sea has to have scales or fins. And the catfish, scales or fins. This catfish has skin. He doesn't have scales. So it's a pig fish. They consider it like a pig. They won't eat a pig. They won't eat a catfish. So they kill it to feed the other fish. So that was shocking. But anyway, that's what they did. So we fished all night and we caught and I said, do there ever get to be big waves? He says, oh, sometimes the waves go to be 9 meters. That's a 10-foot wave is what it is. 3 meters, he said, but that's a 10-foot wave. And I have been on the sea when I have seen waves, no storm, no wind, all of a sudden 10-foot waves almost instantly. That's like it caught Jesus and them in the middle of the night, instantly bang. It's the air pressure comes down and pushes on the sea, causes the waves to splash out on the side. And one day we got to our hotel and all the first floor windows had been smashed out of the hotel because those waves came up and they wiped the whole first floor out of the hotel. So the Bible is true. These things really happen, and I'm done because I'm already out of time.
Sacred Sites with Steve Ray is heard live every Monday on the Guadalupe Radio Network program Morning Joy, hosted by Keith Downey. For more authentic Catholic content, go to grnonline.com/joy.